the reels. Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll continue.
We're giving permission to you, Shelley.
Oh, okay, all
Support
right.
us.
I can turn it up, but sometimes I can't remember what we said.
Well, and if somebody who couldn't make it wants to watch it, I really appreciated that with the first one that I missed. That was fun. At least get to see people's faces and hear voices. So
All right, we'll see how it goes. So I think who did I hear from that can't
Carol.
Carol.
Yeah.
And oh, that's right. And Maureen McMahon, who was in the UK, said she wasn't coming. But where's Pat Foster? She was here. She logged on about a half an hour ago. I thought she'd be coming back. I don't know. Maybe she thought it was at 6, but I don't see her. I hope she comes back. And we'll
I can try to text her if I have her phone number.
All right. Oh, here comes Nana. Yeah. And yeah, I should have recognized her. I just saw that she was trying to log in. Maybe, and I thought maybe she was just getting set up, and I had to go run off and do something. Hello, Nana.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How is everybody?
Good.
Good. We're just giving everybody a few minutes to log on.
Who is wearing red?
Yeah.
This is Rita.
Oh, yes, Rita. All right.
The name there is my husband's because we do Zoom games, or we did during COVID with the senior center.
All
And
right. Well,
so that was his.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here.
It's nice to be here.
thank you to whoever gave me her correct email. And I can't. Was that Jill? Did you
I
give
think
me?
Yes.
it's Jill.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So we did get in touch with her. So that was good. So Jill, why am I not seeing Jill? Oh, there you are. All right. I just have to get it together. All right. I heard you, but I wasn't looking. I don't know. It takes a while to get it all together. I usually teach, with Zoom, it's just a one-on-one. So when I have more than one, maybe I get confused too easily. But if we'll give them just a few minutes. So Carol Hoffman said she couldn't come. Maureen said she couldn't come. And were you able to text Pat Foster, Rose?
No, I can't find her in my phone now for some reason or another. Oh, it's probably because I forget. I put people in by
Different names?
KRPCV, RPCV, Colombia. Oh, I forget which one I have.
Let me just
So
see if I
Rita,
can-
where are you?
I live in Fowlerville, Michigan. Kind of in the middle of the lower part of Michigan.
If we're still waiting, I have a letter from Allison's daughter Camille that I got about a week ago. Would you like?
Oh, really?
Carol.
Good.
Yeah,
Carol
we
is
can
here.
talk on the phone. So she says, we really enjoyed your stories, photos, and the Peace Corps photo and blurb. I'm so glad you included yours too. That was the book at the beginning that had little biographical sketches and photographs of when we were much younger than we are now. Anyway, so Cammy continues, I enjoyed our conversation. Your stories were comforting, reminded me of a happy time for my mom. I know there were some rocky times, but she spoke so fondly of the Peace Corps time and people.
The person you are trying to reach is not accepting calls at this time.
We received cards from others in the group too. So thank you also for spreading the word. You were a good friend to my mom. It makes me happy.
Oh.
Anyway, she's about to go to London, where her husband has an assignment. And the younger child is going with them. The other two are at university. They're staying in the States
Pat,
for a couple of years.
I'm calling you because we are on Zoom. And okay. Okay, that's fine. Shelley thought that might have happened. Good, we'll see you soon. Bye. Oh, I heard the mobile number I had didn't work, so I called her and I forgot I didn't mute myself, so. Well, Rita, I would say you all, based on my television viewing, have a much preferable governor than at least two of our participants who live in the far southeast have. That's my political statement for the moment.
For the evening. All right.
Well, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
There's
Hello.
Hi, Pat.
Hi.
I saw you had tried to log on about a half an hour ago. So
Yes, well, and then I got busy kind of doing some research here, things that I wanted to talk about today that I was looking up on the internet. So I'm sitting here with my map of Colombia looking at Nicoli on the Gulf of Urubá, where 900 people a day are crossing the Darien Gap north.
Wow.
oh,
Oh, boy.
Yeah, my battery's running low.
well, fix your battery. All right. So I wonder if Diane Dunn, who got us all started on this Enrique's journey, I wonder if she will join us. And I'm not sure who wants to talk about Enrique's journey, but
I actually want to ask Nana a question, because Nana, you read this long before we read American Dirt. Did you go back and look at it again, or
Yes,
did
I
you have
went back.
feelings about the two?
I read it again. It all sounded familiar, and I also thought that it really corroborates what the author of American Dirt says. You know, she's criticized, but everything that she describes in her novel
Mm-hmm.
is described in Enrique's journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just maybe easier to take it in the novel because it's a fiction and there's not quite all of the graphic detail. I mean, there's detail, but I found Enrique's journey just relentless,
Yeah.
which I'm sure that's the whole point. That journey is relentless.
It really shows the worst and the best of humanity, I think.
Mm-hmm.
but mostly the worst is what I mean, I guess I
Well,
kept hitting on
remember
the worst.
Veracruz.
Yeah, okay, yes, yeah. And you know how people were feeding those people that were going along, but I think I didn't feel like American Dirt. It didn't hurt inside. I mean, I just didn't feel devastated by it. But Enrique's journey, I just kept wanting it to get better. To something, I didn't want him to lose his teeth and to have his eye drooping, and the relationship with his mom not so great. I just I found it hard to take, but that's.
I just wonder where they are now. I suspect they haven't
Right.
really gotten much better.
I was just about to ask that question, if there's been any real follow-up, if anybody knows if things have gotten better for them, but.
Yeah, I think that was one of the most disheartening things, was that he got here, but he carried all of his problems with him. I mean, they didn't seem to disappear right away. Here's Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Hello. Sorry I'm late.
Hi.
Doing a little bit of caretaking of my own children.
Good.
So Diane, we had just started talking about Enrique's journey.
Mhm.
And there are varying opinions on it, but how painful it is to read.
I did make myself read the whole thing, though.
Yeah, I did too.
I said I just did. I made myself do it. And as I said, I think it was a great parallel read to American Dirt.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the library to check it out, and the only copy they had was one in Spanish. So I read it in Spanish.
Good for you. Yeah.
I will show you what I do when I read things in Spanish. You probably can't read this, but I have little note cards. And so before I go to the dictionary, I just write all these words down and then I go. But I've learned a lot about train, fart, how to say caboose, all the different terms for guns and hitting and but I think I may have mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned the last time that here in Davis, I've met some people who made this journey, and this Enrique's journey, what happened with the life falling apart when they get to the US and him drinking so much and not being able to relate to his family. It happened to these Guatemalan Indians that came. So I think it's, it's not unusual for all of the problems that develop in their homeland to follow them. And so it's very painful and it's very sad. And the thing that we're learning now is it's just getting worse and worse and worse. This, the name of this town in Colombia that I was looking up was a news article I read just today about people who are coming from all over South America and even Africa. They somehow get themselves to Colombia, and this is their entrance into Central America and then their route up to the States.
Are they walking, or how are they getting, what transportation are they using?
Well, this article was rather brief, but it did say that this is a town that's been known for, so people who want to get to the US from all over South America, Venezuela, Bolivia, they mentioned even Chile, they get themselves to this town, and then there is one ferry a day that takes them across the Golfo de Urubá into the Darien, where they have to walk for 60 kilometers to get into a road in Panama that can take them north. And I don't know, I would imagine that some of them end up on the trains, on the Bestia. But it's just talking about the massive increase in people wanting to come to the States in recent months that we've been reading about. I think that a lot of people, so many countries are going through such terrible times. And so they mentioned 2 or 3 different African countries where people were managing to get themselves to South America and then using this route. And they said that before Christmas, maybe 300 people a day were doing this route. And now every day there's 900 people in this town.
Good Lord.
And this is a town of about 20,000 people, but so the town is just log jammed because they can't get them out of there fast enough, and it's becoming a problem. It looks like it's in Cordoba, although I thought it would be in Chocó, but it's on the
West Coast,
Caribbean side.
Oh,
yeah. So, but anyway, that's just an example of, this Enrique's story, I'm sure, is being played out more and more and more.
Yeah, it says it is the Gulf on the northern coast of Colombia, part of the Caribbean Sea. Long and wide inlet located on the coast of Colombia, close to the connection of the continent to the Isthmus of Panama. So,
Right.
Mhm.
So it's a major jumping off place for people
Oh.
from all over South America and Africa.
What's the name of the town, Pat?
It is called Necoli, Necocli. And I was reading about it on internet news today. I thought, oh, that's interesting.
I just looked at it. I just looked at on the map on my phone. You can see where it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like you probably do have to have a ferry to go across. There's kind of a inlet from the
Right.
Caribbean. Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
But it just tells the story of the impact on Colombia of
Hmm.
this,
Hmm.
of what's happening. And, you know, it's what's happening around the world.
Right.
The people are not feeling safe in their own countries. They're not able to survive, not able to feed their children.
I wonder if there's been an analysis of those conditions being brought on to some extent by climate change, by droughts. I think droughts in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. I think of droughts.
Right.
It's going to be an ever.
Togo was one of the
climate
countries.
refugees, I think.
Yeah.
Pat, do you know which towns in Africa?
It mentioned 3 countries and I wrote them down and let's see.
Can you imagine?
Ghana, Mali, and Togo were the 3
oh
countries
gosh.
All right.
in Africa that they were mentioning that
Mali and-
those people from those countries were finding their way to Necoli.
Where else? Mali, Ghana, and
Ghana,
Togo.
Mali, and Togo.
That's all West Africa. Makes sense. Yeah.
And the town in Colombia again?
Necoli, Necoli.
Oh, Necoli. Thank you.
Right, it's right next to where Panama runs into Colombia. You know, that's the Darien Gap there. There's,
Well, if you can see that map.
right,
Yeah.
you know, there's
Yeah.
that one spot between Colombia and
Oh.
Panama where they've never been able to complete a road through
Right.
that Darien Gap jungle.
Oh, so they take a ferry from Necocli over to
Over to Panama.
yeah.
Or, over to Panama into this roadless section called the Darien Gap.
Yeah. Sounds
And
awful.
And they get 60 kilometers through the Darien Gap up to the southernmost road in Panama.
Mm.
I don't know if any of you, while you were in Colombia, knew Peace Corps volunteers who made their way through the Darien Gap. I was in Cali, and one day I went into the office in downtown Cali, the Peace Corps office, and there were 2 Peace Corps volunteers with big cuts and wounds in their legs. They'd just come from walking in the Darien Gap.
Oh,
And
From the map, it looks like there are absolutely no towns. Nothing. Between, there's something called the Darien National Park. But other than that, doesn't seem to be nothing. Is it swamp?
I think it's very jungle-like,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
they're not able to build a road there because of the.
Well, the Darien rainforest produces some of the best baskets by the Wunan people. That's the tribe that inhabits that area. That are just, they're literally some of the best baskets ever made. And they use palm fibers, and they strip the inside of the palm leaves, and then they can actually strip them down to be almost as fine as silk. And they weave with them. They do pictorials, they do images of the animals in the jungle, from jaguars to parrots to monkeys. And then they also do these incredible sort of geometric designs. And they came up into the States, into the Southwest, probably back in the 90s for the first time. And through Mexico, were being sold, and now they become a very collectible item for people who are basket collectors. But it's quite I don't know. Yes, exactly. Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. WUO or WOUNAA?
NAAN. Yeah. I mean, there are a couple different kinds of spellings for it, but
Wow.
When I try and
I want to
figure-
get back to Enrique's journey though, because I think the big question that it raises is, what are we going to do as a country? I mean, we all feel compassion for this journey. We all feel the hopelessness of none of the problems being solved. We all wonder how in the world could the mothers do this? How in the world could the children do this? And I'm not coming up with any real answers on how this is going to be addressed.
Now, some of you have gone in and done Spanish English work with some of these migrants or people in your area. Have you? Have any of you done that?
No.
No. I mean, that would be a natural for us. If I mean, I was even seeing the Afghans coming over and being settled here, and what a rude awakening it's going to be for them. But with our Spanish, we could help, couldn't we? If we're in an area where there are migrants coming in or families. Our governor Lamont said he had a center when so many were coming up. He was trying to get our state to allow us to use this juvenile detention center that had been closed to house and serve as a transfer place. And that's not far from me. And I thought, well, I would go down and see what I could do with, getting a student or, one of them that I could maybe help with their English or whatever. But he didn't, the state pushed back and it didn't happen. So I don't know what has happened to all of these kids now. We don't see it in the news so much, do we?
Well,
Where the children are?
there's news today. News today is that the policies of Bush are not being changed right now.
Right.
Because there's just such an overwhelming amount of new folks at the border, and because of the increase in the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the COVID puts a whole other wrinkle in it. Huh.
Doesn't it have to go back to policies that the U.S. has towards these countries? And after all, we're responsible for them getting into the fix they're in terms of supporting the governments that took over. So I thought that we need to promote policies that help, that will send money into the countries to help change the conditions in the countries themselves. Yes, we can help make the transition of people who are coming in, but that's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah,
go back.
Taking the bodies out downstream. I'm trying to remember, the regular Peace Corps newsletter or journal that comes out regularly. Worldview. There was a really interesting article a few months ago. I was trying to find it, but I couldn't. It was by a former Peace Corps volunteer who has since gone into the government. And under the Obama administration, there was a pilot program. I don't know if it was in Honduras or El Salvador, where a small group went into one barrio in a town with a lot of problems with a plan. And the plan was people were wanting to leave because the gangs were so vicious that small business owners, even just street vendors, all had to pay bribes regularly and were being beaten up regularly. And mothers were seeing that their kids were having to go into these gangs because they had no other option, like the Mara Chucha is one of the big ones, and the Catorce in El Salvador. And so he was saying that in this pilot, they felt, and the problem was the gang members were all getting away with it because the people were too afraid to say anything to the police because they were being threatened. And they knew that the police were often in cahoots and were also taking bribes from the Mara Trucha. So they put a lot of resources into firming up the police and actually capturing the gang members. And that over time, families began to feel comfortable enough to report the gang members to the police, and they were getting captured and put in jail. And people were feeling much better and more comfortable where they were. But that's the sort of level, I think, of solution that needs to happen is down in the countries where the problems are.
That corruption has to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And Kamala Harris, when she went down, of course,
Right.
that was the thrust of her trip. And the GOP criticized her
Yeah.
Right.
for not
Right.
going to the border.
Right.
But on the other hand, I think Enrique's journey and also in American Dirt, the corruption of the police along the way, you couldn't count on the police being your friend or being helpful or being anything but corrupt and taking advantage of the situation too. So that's another, in a way, so it seems like policy should do what we have to do, it seems everywhere, is create jobs, create a meaningful lifestyle through policies that maybe we can help influence in those countries. But again, the leaders of those countries, I mean, the old pushback on that is, well, the leaders are so corrupt themselves, they just take the money that we send. I mean, so.
I remember in Onda, the mayor of the town took all of the milk that was coming in from CARE. Remember in the old days, they were sending it and they would whitewash their houses with it. But to go full circle to the Peace Corps, I back in 1965, when Colombia had such a high infant mortality rate, how about birth control?
Well, they wouldn't let you, right?
Why so many children? If you
they wouldn't let you teach birth control, right?
And there was no way. There was absolutely no way to even approach that subject.
Yeah.
La Iglesia Católica.
Except on the coast. I thought on the coast, Barranquilla and Cali, it was.
Yeah, in Cali.
It was.
In Cali, I was able to do it. I wonder if this is a dream. It was so long ago, but I taught. I had a group of nuns, hijas de la caridad, that were students of mine
Really?
in the LVN program, and I can't remember why it was I was able to teach them birth control.
Well, was it after the encyclica? When was the encyclica? Maybe Rosa remembers. There was something that came out in 1966, 67 that relaxed some of the birth control from the Pope.
A lot of that is just going over my head, but I know that I did have some classes, that you would teach. And I remember very well that in the hospital, the Hospital Universitario in Cali, there were 2 wards, one for pregnant mothers and one for women who had abortions that were infected. And they were equal size. So there were as many people in there for botched abortions as there were for giving birth. And I think somebody felt something needed to be done.
Well, in the interior, where I was, up in the mountains in Sonson near Medellin, you could not touch that subject.
No.
I had a 4-H girls group, and we could deal with nutrition or menstruation or, you know, how to make something, but you could not go there. And maybe it's changed. I mean, you know, this was 60 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it's changed. It's changed. In Colombia, yes, of course, it's changed. But in the Central American countries, I mean, are they promoting birth control among the poor? I really don't know.
Well, I'm just struck that the mothers are I keep freezing myself up for some reason here. Hold on, I don't know how to do this. Let me go back. There I am. You know, they're having the children they can't support in Central America, but then they're coming to the States and having more children. And then somehow there's a kind of transition, at least the way Sonia Nazario is describing it, where they now bond with their new family. Yes, they care for their old and they send the money back, but the money's supposed to be a substitute. You know, I mean, I think at an emotional level, it doesn't seem that it seems like they separated out their two lives. I don't know if the rest of you read it that way or not, but
Enrique's mom, I mean, that situation where she had a child and was still trying to support her kids back home, but I think Enrique felt really pissed off. Mom had this other child, and I just can't imagine the terror and the traumas that the parents, the mothers are going through too when they leave, and they're sure they're going to get back, and they're sure they're going to get their kids with them.
The level of desperation.
Yeah, I mean, if you go from West Africa to Colombia and then go through a jungle, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then this is not the land of milk and honey when they get here.
No, I hate to throw this is going through my mind, and I could be very highly criticized for even thinking it, but I'm thinking to the way each, unless you're a Native American descendant, each of our families left families, and the trials and tribulations they had in coming when they came. Mine came in the end of the about 1790 to 1802 from Ireland, and not much money, not separated from family. You know, the oldest got the land in Ireland, and the rest there was no food. So I'm wondering how much of that is within us as a people, period. I just can't imagine that it could be as traumatic as what these Central American folks are going through. But
well, I think that's because the immigration laws were so different at that time.
Oh, well, that's true.
For the great wave of the Italians, the great wave of the Irish in the late 19th century, the great wave of the Germans, and the Norwegian, you know, the Scandinavian people who came even a little bit earlier, before the Dakotas were even states. And they, you know, we were still in the westward expansion mode at that time. So, you know, they needed people to work. And, you know, I mean, where we've been ruthless in the way we've treated people, you look at the other coast with the Chinese, you know, but they came in to work on the railroad. So I think it's a very, very different time frame
but
than what we're looking at now.
More particularly of the individual person, say, leaving their family in Ireland and traversing in an unsure way a ship across an ocean, and the individual impact of arriving on the shores with nothing and having to, I mean, it's all relative, of course, because I'm sure that was not easy.
Oh, no, not at all.
And I'm sure there were struggles. I mean, some who had money, I suppose, you know, found it, and they didn't have to go through, you know, getting your visa or getting your citizenship that early. but coming through Ellis Island was not a great experience. I know from personal experience from friends, and then making your way into this world that you thought was going to be a dream world, right? And then it isn't.
And there was discrimination against every group when they came.
Yes.
You know.
But was there as much hate and I don't know, just prejudice as there is today?
Yes.
You think?
I mean, my husband was like one of the first Italians to go to Cornell and had a roommate whose father had done a book on Italian immigration, was so thrilled that he was actually rooming with a live one, you know, they could really study him. So, no, I mean, they by then were middle class, but his grandfather was a fisherman who came from Naples, sold fish at the Fulton Fish Market. His father never got beyond a 4th grade education, sold fish at the Fulton Fish Market. But all of it, like these families, was to be able to give their children education. So Dennis was the first one through high school, college, medical school, blah, blah. His father used to cry every time he came to our house because he was so proud of him. I mean, that exactly what Diane is saying, that they had come for an opportunity and they had been able to make it happen for the next generation. And I think that was the way that, I don't know, I mean, some people were thinking about it.
I think what drove them, maybe there was some desperation or desire or dream, but I'm not sure that it was such fear of no alternative to stay.
That's a good point.
Which is what these Central Americans are feeling, isn't it? And they can't stay in their homeland. They'll die.
Very desperate now.
Yeah, I think it's a level beyond. But as you say, all of us, except for Native American descendants, did have this in our background somewhere. And the fact that how many percentages of the United States people in the United States are so filled with hatred for immigrants. I mean, that, Shelley, was your point, right?
Yes, yeah. It just, I think more than in the last 50 years. I don't know. And I may be naive thinking that it's worse now than it was 40 or 50 years ago, but it just feels like we should know better. Well,
but it seems like there's something to do with color of skin too.
You think maybe? Sorry. Yeah.
Other language, you know.
No,
our language. They're dark people or something.
The skin, right? Racial prejudice. I mean,
in my family in Colombia, when I lived the second year, I lived with a family. They had like 6 kids, and he was Gustavo was really mostly Italian. Nidia was they were Italian Colombians, but they were also of, I think there was some indigenous, and there was a big mix. And of these 6 kids, there was one that was darker than all the rest, and he got the strap almost daily. Juan Carlos couldn't do anything right. It was really remarkable. There is within their culture that stratification and difference of why. And when you were in Colombia, did you feel as though you were in a country with people? Did you think about being in a country of color?
No.
I didn't. There I was.
No, I didn't either. And I came home and they said, "Oh, you were in a country with people of color." Or
the only time I felt like that.
Where I was. That
you were?
Yes, on the coast.
On the coast.
They were all black.
Yeah.
And when I went to the Chocó a couple of times. That was the only time I was ever really conscious of it, and also the only time I ever experienced any discrimination. You know, where it was, you know, very anti, and I don't know if it was anti-American, anti-white, what it was, but it was the only time. It was very, very palpable.
You didn't visit Dennis Gilbert when you were there, did you?
Say that again.
Dennis Gilbert. He was in my group. And he was stationed in the Choco?
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't remember any names. Well, some of them I do. I remember you guys.
It's funny how we were only together for 12 weeks, and then most of us went off, didn't see each other again until the end, or where did we go? To Cartagena for R&R. But we really we were together in spirit, but not physically for most of the time we were in Colombia.
It's true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is not Enrique or this heavy discussion, but it's interesting that we've got this wonderful connection still. I mean, it's amazing. I think something I'm grateful for, even though we don't see each other in person much anymore. And I'm not planning a reunion in Louisville.
Oh, you were nominated, weren't you, Rose?
Yes, I was. I should have not mentioned that, but this Delta thing is so scary.
Oh,
People's reactions, like saw coverage of our school board meeting last week. The parents who say it's my decision how to take care of my child, but forgetting there are other kids who are going to be put at risk if you don't want your child to wear a mask. And I think that's political personally. I don't remember seeing that kind of vitriol before the past few years, especially, but I don't know.
But they do have their car seats, and the kid in the back seat, safety belts.
Right.
They have their vaccinations for babies, and
it's funny, all this hullabaloo about you can't tell me what to do. I do remember it was probably 1972 when seatbelts were coming out, and my neighbor got a new AMC Pacer that a bell rang if she didn't put the seatbelt on, and she was absolutely incensed that was against her, her right as a citizen, that she should not be told to wear a seatbelt. And she cut her, I don't know if she removed the bell at least. And I'm thinking that seems so long ago and far away, but she was in the minority. There were very few that fussed and carried on about seatbelts, but today we're fussing and carrying on about saving our lives with a face mask. And it just, it does seem like it's political.
Or a vaccine.
Oh, the vaccine, yeah. But there's so much misinformation about the vaccine. That obviously there are side effects. Some people get side effects. I remember in Colombia when we were doing vaccination campaigns, and every once in a while the child would die from a reaction, and but you didn't stop doing the vaccines. So, I don't know. Does anybody have a solution for all of this? I mean, we were talking. I think it was Diane was saying, what can we do locally? It's really, I guess, it's better to light one small candle than to curse the darkness. But it's hard to figure out what you can do locally. I received a call today from a young woman from El Salvador asking me to teach her English, and so we're going to start. And I don't know where to start. I don't know whether to start. I'm not sure exactly how to teach online to an adult. I do it all day long to children, but I'm a little bit stumped as to how I'm going to start with this young woman from El Salvador who speaks no English, and she's been here 2 years. So,
and she lives with others who speak Spanish.
Yes, yeah. I think because I teach this little boy who's a friend, her friend's son is a little boy that I teach, and his English is okay, but it's more Spanish than English. But I'm teaching him to read in English, and they refer this friend. But yeah, they speak. I think they have a cleaning service that somebody runs the cleaning service, and all these Central Americans that work for them, they aren't learning any English. They're going to work and coming home, and years go by and they haven't learned any, and they're getting angry. This young woman, just she wants to learn, but she doesn't have time because she's always working. So we'll see if I make any progress.
Does she want to learn English or
English.
to read Spanish?
No, learn English.
Okay.
She wants to learn English, and so we said we would meet, and the children are learning English because they're going to have to go to school, and they need to be able to read in English. So but it's a lot easier for me to teach children than teach adults. I don't know.
I was watching and listening to an NPR program today where they were talking about a community that had distributed 60,000 computers to children without them in their school district. And a lot of them were children of Spanish speakers.
Oh.
And so they started an English class for the parents who now had a computer at home, who were all working, but it was wonderful because with a computer on their downtime, they could choose a time to have small groups. And they were interviewing some of the women who'd been in this class. And they said that one of the things that was really important was they started working on vocabulary of things they had to do, like go to the market, buy food, get on the bus.
Daily things.
Yes. How much is this? How much is that? And so one of the women was saying in Spanish, but she said, someone came up to me in the supermarket today and asked me where I found the milk in my cart. And she said, for the first time, I had the courage to try and give her an answer in English. And she said she was so proud of the fact that she finally had the courage to try out her English.
Do you remember when, at least for me, maybe some of you were Spanish speakers before you went to training and before you went to Colombia? I wasn't. And so training was the basis. But when I got to Colombia and up in the mountains, only my dog understood English. Nobody else did. And so you had to, como se dice, como se dice. And you had to, that was the way an adult learns, I think. Well, children do too. But when you have to. And so it's hard, Shelley, I would think, unless they will be courageous, say in the grocery store, and use it. It's hard. It's hard. Maybe that's the way you encourage them, is to get into real life situations where they begin to use it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think those are good suggestions. I'd ask, where's the milk? How much is it? One of the things I learned to say in Chinese is it's too expensive. When how much is it? And that's too expensive. And that has helped me a lot.
When in terms of what we can do, I think all of us are thinking and reading and informing ourselves, and that's important, isn't it? To keep ourselves on top of what is happening. Writing letters to the editors in your small little newspapers, areas, and with people who, there are people that you just can't undo the hatred they feel in their hearts, but there are people who are misinformed, and if just gently, not, I tend to, my partner says, if they're not, I say this, if they're not Democrats, you don't have time for them. But I think that's wrong, because I'm part of some groups where there are some Republicans, and bridging the issues like this one that seems to be a Democrat Republican. Well, it isn't really a Democrat Republican. It's in everything, but informing and others, is really important, and keeping ourselves informed
Mhm.
so we can. It's something we can do.
So, and then not changing the subject, but we were talking about another book to read. Is there another book that's I don't know, that is a little more uplifting? I don't know. This is
I'm an escapist.
I just started reading Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I hadn't read Strange Pilgrims, and I think I'm going to like it. But
There's some wonderful stories in that.
Hmm?
I've read it several times. There are many really wonderful stories.
Yeah, I need a wonderful story between. I can't
What
watch
is the
Hallmark.
title? What is the title, Shelley?
Strange Pilgrims
Okay.
by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I'm just one is about Mr. President is in exile, and that's where I just starting it, and I think I'm going to enjoy it. It's not that that Enrique's journey was just really heavy, and I suppose it made me have to think about the people on the border. It made me had to think about this really is happening, even though this is, what is this, 20 years old, I think the Enrique journey is, but it's happening today and happening worse. And we still haven't found some of those children that were separated from their parents. And sometimes I just don't, part of me doesn't want to think about it like that really isn't, it's not happening in my neighborhood. And I should, and I have to, but it's nice to be able to also read something a little lighter.
Hey, I have a suggestion. This is a book by Luis Alberto Urrea, Urrea, Rumba al Hermoso Norte. It came out in 2009. He's Mexican-American. His mother's American, father Mexican. The book was originally written in English, and then it got translated into Spanish. My library doesn't have an English copy, but a Spanish copy. Anyway, this is, again, it's a trip to the north. I haven't gotten very far into it, but I think it's written with more compassion and humor, perhaps. I believe our heroine is a young woman of 19 years old who goes with a few friends. I've just kind of stopped there. I would recommend that. I think it's going to be enjoyable now.
Patty, what's the name of it?
Oh, it's called
Rumbo,
Rumbo, al Hermoso Norte.
Rumbo.
What is it in English?
Hermoso Norte.
Do you know the English title?
No, I have no idea what it is.
On the way to the beautiful north? I don't know.
In English, it's into the beautiful.
Author, Luis Alberto Urrea, Urrea.
Alberto.
I've read something by him. I wonder if there is a book called Al Norte.
This one is the one that Hetty's talking about is in English, Into the Beautiful North. Is the English translation.
Okay.
Beautiful North.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We don't all have to read the same thing.
No.
We don't talk about it.
But
I read a lot of Garcia Marquez, and that's fine too. I would be reading everything again. That's fine. But there are other writers besides him. There's Peruvians, and there are other people. We don't have to stick with.
There's Isabel Allende.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful books.
I've read several of hers. I haven't read her recent ones.
And what does she write about?
Oh, she's Daughters of Fortune is really about her time in Chile, and during the overthrow of the Allende government. And then she writes one. Then she went to Venezuela after that. But she writes one called Paula, which is about her daughter.
Who's died.
Yeah. That's not an upper, but
right.
But then some she's written recently that I really haven't kept track of them, but there's kind of on my radar to
I just read her A Long Petal of the Sea. That's about the Spanish Civil War and the refugees that came to Chile. I thought that was excellent. I learned a lot. I didn't know anything about the Spanish Civil War.
What is it
A
called?
Long Petal of the Sea. And the name comes, Pablo Neruda referred to one of his poems, referred to Chile. as
A long petal of the sea. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I thought it's an excellent book. Actually, we read it for the book club I'm in here. It's right here, and so that's our next one we're discussing.
I like to read women writers. If I can.
Now, who wrote A Long Petal of the Sea? Was that Allende as well? Or no?
Yeah, Isabel Allende.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her first famous novel was also had magical realism, like
Trying to
Garcia
find
Marquez.
that. I
What
was,
was
just,
it called?
I was just looking it up because I love that book.
What
Yes,
was it?
I'm looking it up right now.
I'm trying to
I
remember.
think I read it too, but I can't think of the name.
The House of the Spirit.
Yes.
The House of the
The House
Spirit.
of the
Yes.
Spirit.
Yes, that was.
It's a
Wonderful.
wonderful book. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this current one, I don't know how many of them have magical realism, but this one does not.
Mhm.
Mhm.
She lives in San Francisco.
I think she's there now, right?
Marin County.
Probably. Yeah. I think I would be I would vote for that one myself, I think.
Or which
A Long
one?
Petal of the Sea or The House of the Spirit.
No, A Long Paddle. I've read House of the
Long Petal.
Spirit.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it a pedal or a paddle?
Petal,
Petal.
P-A-L, petal,
petal like from the flower.
Spanish Civil War.
Oh,
I mean, that has to avoid heavily on the development of the whole, a Mexican situation and Mexican American. We still live with that.
Petal.
Yes.
Mhm.
Battle. But Marquez, I'd like to read another Marquez too.
Well, the ones that I suggested were very short, so might be able to squeeze that in at the same. The one Strange Pilgrims, which is you could just read a couple of the short stories. It's
Ah,
180 something pages, 188 in the whole book.
that's the Marquez?
yes.
Yeah,
The short
maybe
stories.
that would be.
So you could read some of the short stories.
Mhm. Are there any that are funny and uplifting?
Yes, there are, and I can look that up. And I also I've taken 2 classes of him, and his son wrote a beautiful letter about him after he died.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet, but
Yeah, I will try to find some of that and send it to everybody.
Are you referring to the book A Farewell to Gabo and Merced?
Yeah. yeah.
Which one is that?
The memoir that he wrote, Farewell to Gabo and Mercedes. It's a book that just came out this spring by Rodrigo Garcia, and it's getting rave reviews. They say it's an evening read, but it is about death and dying. So in his last year, he was suffering from dementia, but he had this long relationship with his wife, the love of his life. And so
I tried to read the book he was most known for. I can't remember the title now, the first one, the big one.
100 years.
100 Years of
Solitude.
I tried listening to it when I walked and I couldn't stick with it. So I tried reading it and I couldn't stick with it. Couldn't get very far.
In Spanish or in
In
English?
English. I just couldn't get, it didn't grab me. Yeah, there were too many names or something.
Yeah, that was.
Remember Shelley was asking me if I had read it in Spanish, and I said his English, I had to look up a lot of his vocabulary in his English.
Yeah, in English, right.
Yeah, no, you have to kind of be in a quiet place. When I went back to Colombia 8 years later, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I remember going down by a creek and reading it in Spanish. But I loved it. But it was a slow read, but it was wonderful. It's very complex. You did have to keep all of the characters and.
The solitude, maybe just being in that environment. I picked it up several times and didn't get it.
I was sitting there and the little yellow butterflies were around me like they were in Acata or Acatraca or something, the name of the little town.
Yeah, we were in Aracataca the second our second year. And I didn't find out so much later that was where Gabriel Marquez was from.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
You always think of him as
yeah.
being Cartagena, where he
Yeah.
lives, right?
Macondo.
Aracataca.
Or Acataca.
I'm gonna sign off and say goodnight to everybody because my husband's walking in the door with the Chinese food.
Oh, don't let it get
Good to
cold.
see you
Hey,
all.
pass it around.
Whatever you decide on is fine with me. Just, yeah, I'll get the email and, anyway, always love the discussion.
Thanks,
good night,
Dexter.
everybody.
Take
Bye,
care.
Dexter.
Hi, Dexter.
Now, Shelley, maybe you ought to put all these in a hat and just draw one out or something.
All these- I put them, yeah, I'm just making notes in chat. But I'll have to go back, and of course I spelled Isabel Allende wrong in one part. But there was Paola was one of her books, and
Paola, yeah.
yeah, and then
That's a hard read because
would
she
be teary.
dies.
Well, yeah, that
A
is.
very sad death, but
mm,
it has an uplifting spirit.
It does.
That's when her,
Carol, were you suggesting maybe like if some of us are able to read two things like A Long Petal of the Sea and some of the Pilgrim? It's about both of those next time.
I would like to commit to one myself.
I like the idea of A Long Petal of the Sea in the Spanish
I
War.
do too, because I just
I
read.
do too. I like that.
Okay with me.
good with me. I haven't not read that.
a long petal of the sea. I was pedaling on the bicycle, petal of the sea, but I got it now. It's a petal, like a flower petal.
Or-
Yes.
A long petal of the sea.
So Shelley, how is your leg?
I'm going to see the doctor tomorrow to take out the stitches.
Oh my.
I think I'm hoping to be able to go for a walk at least pretty soon. It just was a lot longer than I thought. Well, what's all the big deal about? But because they took out quite a bit of flesh and then they had to pull the skin together. That's what the surgeon's worried about, that it doesn't come, it has to come together. So it's just a little tiny thing compared to all the things that everybody else has. When my high school classmates, we get together, and one of them talks about, she lives in a retirement facility, and said every night at dinner they have an organ recital, and I hadn't heard of the organ recital, but I get it. So, and we haven't had any organ recitals in this group. I don't know.
My sister's group used to say, no discussion about body parts, off the table.
No organ recitals in this group.
No body parts.
So
Anyway, I hope you get better. Thanks.
thank you. I am better.
Organizing.
I
Yeah.
have been taking advantage of poor Elliot. He's done the vacuuming and the changing the sheets and the laundry, and he's made dinner. And I don't know if I want to come back from this. Maybe I can keep it up a little bit.
So let's decide when we're going to get together again.
All right. This is August. Would it be October?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Is there a day of the week this is a Tuesday. Is it better to have it during the week?
Yes.
All right. So if I look at October, thank you, Hetty. And I've got September, October. There's I'm trying to see if there are any holidays, but October 5th.
Are any of us compromised in our day by work? Or do we have flexibility
Where did we go?
in the late afternoon to be present?
Free.
Matter to me.
I mean, I have a chorus on Tuesday nights.
Oh, that's right.
It
So
is-
Tuesday nights are almost, I could be here a half hour. But
Carol, are you still swimming?
I'm trying to sing,
Wonderful.
Terrific.
but it's not like it used to be.
So
Carol, I don't think Carol, I don't think she's, can you hear me? Carol, Mom,
Yes, Rosita.
Oh, okay. Are you still swimming? Didn't you have conflicts with swimming? On a,
But that's okay. I mean, it is afternoon for me, and for you, nighttime is afternoon for me.
Right.
That's,
30. So,
So Diane, what time were you?
well, if it could
Is
be
it
even at 4 o'clock, Eastern time. That would be earlier though, maybe too early, or 5 even, just so I can get to my rehearsal by 7. I think we're gonna do in person, so I have to leave at 6:30. But, that's
Fi-
my conflict.
5 would be better for me. I do have a student from 4 to 4:30 on Tuesdays. But
What about Wednesday, the 6th?
Wednesday the 6th,
Yeah? Wednesday would be good.
Wednesday, where's Wednesday?
And
Yeah,
what
Wednesday's good.
time for Winston?
Yes.
Are you still talking about 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, 6:30 would be fine on a Wednesday,
Oh,
or
okay.
I
whenever.
don't care what time.
I don't have anything on
Does
Wednesday.
does anyone have an objection to 6:30 on Wednesday?
we can have an early celebration for my birthday and Nana's husband's birthday.
Okay, all right, we'll bring cake.
Margaritas.
Rose,
when are
Rosita,
yours?
when is your birthday? What's your
The
birthday,
7th
Rose?
of October.
Oh, well, we can sing happy birthday.
Rose's birthday.
Los
Okay.
mañanitas.
Ah,
I guess just Pat and I are on the West Coast.
Right, 3:30 for us, huh?
All
And
right.
maybe Annie will join us again.
So, okay, let's see. So 6:30 on Wednesday, October 6th.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
good.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking that sounds okay. I'm just trying to think if if anybody's traveling, but I wish I were traveling.
So we've decided it's a long pedal of the sea. Are we all agreed on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was somebody going to read Strange Pilgrims as well, or are we just reading the Long Pedal of the Sea?
I might pick them both up, and it depends, but
Okay.
the sea's fine.
Rose, I'll send one to you. I found 2 books of the same one.
Okay, all right.
So A Long Pedal of the Sea, Wednesday, the 6th of October, 6:30 p.m. And
Thank
maybe we'll get some, I don't know if there are any more of us that we are still looking for. I don't, I'm so glad we found Rita. That was great. That we
Yeah.
just had the wrong address, the wrong email.
Well, my email has changed over the last 60 years. so-
Oh, yeah. That happens.
Time to
Yes,
time.
it does happen.
Like
So,
60 years ago, I didn't even have an email.
Right. Wow.
Just so you know, I got my book at Thrift Books. I don't know if they have any more copies, but if you don't use them, that's an option for getting used books.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I went on Amazon and got this one. I think it was only $3 or $4 but used. But Thrift Books is good. All right. So we have our homework and
Okay.
our and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what we've done in our communities to help the immigrant situation. So, is there anything else that we have neglected to talk about? We could go on to talk about artificial hips and knees.
No,
Or not.
How many have one or both? Artificial hips or knees? It's the only one? That's pretty
I have
good
2
then.
knees,
Oh, wow.
too much basketball and tennis.
Oh,
Oh,
But I'm great. I'm playing pickleball now. It's fantastic.
good.
Oh, I did want to say, something came into my mind just to pass along to you. If you're looking around for something a movie to watch, and so I thought, oh, there's a Judi Dench movie, and said, oh, that must be good, and it's called Iris. Do not watch it.
Oh.
It is
Depressing?
It's super depressing. It's about Iris falling into
Dementia.
dementia, and she's so good at it. she's such a good actress that you don't watch it. Don't do it.
I watched it.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I kind of enjoy watching movies about dementia. Just seems to, not sure why. Maybe it's because I've worked in long-term care as a nurse practitioner with the aging, and I think it's important. It's kind of like Enrique's journey. The fact is that a lot of us will be there eventually.
Oh,
You read Still Alice? Still Alice?
Yes, I did Still Alice also.
Yeah, well, movie and book. Yeah.
Well, my brother-in-law is going that way. So it's hard to watch my sister take care of him.
and speaking of that, I don't know if any of us are in touch with Anne McGranigan, and I didn't reach out to the care facility where she is to invite her to come join us, but I can't remember who did that before. Would anyone here that one of us got in touch with?
Annie may have reached out to her.
Oh,
It was
okay.
probably Annie.
Mhm. Oh, that's right.
And she participated and seemed to really enjoy it.
Yeah, so I will ask Annie, if maybe she could ask her to come to the next one, even if it's just for a little while. I think probably connection is a good thing. She seemed to be happy to see us.
Yeah.
Just people understand that if we don't finish the book, we can still come, right?
Oh,
well, if you don't do your homework, are you welcome?
My older sister who lives in New Haven, Connecticut, and I were talking today. She's still working, and she talked about home play. She said, I've got to do my home play, something she's got to write up. So maybe if we approach it as home play instead of
homework. Oh, okay, home play. Yes.
I don't know if
I think Nancy Child is in that category too. I reached out to her yesterday thinking, well, I should still reach out to her, but I have not heard back from her. So I don't know what's happening with her now.
Nancy Child and Anne McGranigan.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a horrible, horrible, horrible disease. And just, I don't, I just hope.
And we've lost Karen Johnson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful Karen.
She was wonderful. I mean, she was so good. And that meeting that we had in Seattle was really very memorable. It was wonderful. So,
I've seen Mary Williams on Facebook, and I've tried to communicate with her, but I don't know if she doesn't read messages or what, but can't get anything back.
Yeah, I have sent her. I don't know if maybe those two. I have two addresses, but they seem to be university addresses that we have on her email, but she doesn't respond. And you've tried to reach out to her on Facebook.
Yeah, and she's written on Facebook very rarely, but she has been on. But makes me think maybe she doesn't really know how to use it or to do messaging. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
and yesterday I talked with Carol, and together on the Michigan voter list, we located Dory Coleman.
Did you?
So Carol was getting in touch with her. And
Carol
as it
Bond?
turns out, her daughter is a really famous artist. Has shown, has pictures at the Whitney and other galleries. So who knows? I don't know if she's near Rita. My Michigan geography isn't too good.
Now I know that maybe it was 20 years ago that Dory said she wasn't interested in getting together with us at all. I can't, and maybe it was just a time, but that was 25 years ago. I don't know what the reason was. But it was, I think I got actually a letter. I'm trying to picture a letter that I got saying that they're just not interested in doing anything with this group, whether she had bad memories or what. But Jill, so Carol Bond has been in touch with her, or do you?
She's getting in touch with her. Yes,
okay.
we found an address yesterday.
Oh, well, it'll be interesting. I mean, we all sort of come back full circle. I mean, my ex-husband did not want me to have anything to do with Peace Corps. I mean, even that was the last 6 months I was in Colombia. I wasn't supposed to speak to any of the volunteers. So I mean, so people change, things happen.
Good,
So,
good. Lucky for us, or we wouldn't have our Zoom mistress.
yes. Yeah, and he has mellowed somehow. I mean, it's amazing. Here's this man that I met in Albuquerque, and he lives 10 minutes away from here.
Wow.
So life goes on. So it's always very, I don't know, invigorating to see you all, that you're all thinking and doing and still very much alive. And I think that's we should congratulate ourselves that we're still here doing. So,
Yeah.
all right, but so I think we've got our marching orders, and we'll all read and come back and meet again in October. Are we going to sing a song at the end now? Oh, Gloria in Marcy. No? Next time we'll have a song leader. Right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Take
Hasta la
care.
próxima.
Yeah, hasta la próxima.
Tengan cuidado.
Lo mismo.
They had to stand, Carol.
Yeah.
Julio.
Bye-bye.